There's something most men do when they finally meet a woman they actually like, and it kills the entire connection before it ever had a chance. It doesn't matter how good you look, how successful you are, or how genuine your intentions are. One mistake, one shift in your behavior, and her attraction quietly collapses. You won't notice it at first. She won't argue, she won't complain, she won't explain what changed. But the energy flips. Her replies get shorter. Her interest drops. Her warmth disappears. And you're left wondering what you did wrong. But here's the truth. You didn't lose her because you weren't good enough. You lost her because you stopped being the man she was drawn to in the first place. Women don't fall for logic. They fall for energy. And the moment your energy shifts from calm, grounded, self-respecting to needy, uncertain, or overly invested, she feels it instantly. This video is about the behavior that destroys her love before it even begins, and the mindset that makes her respect you again. It always begins the same way. You meet a woman you actually like, and instead of staying in the energy that drew her in, you switch into the energy that pushes her away. You start giving too much. You start reaching out more than she does. You start trying to secure something that wasn't meant to be secured this early. At first, she was drawn to your presence, the way you moved, the way you spoke, the way you carried yourself without forcing anything. You were intentional, but detached, interested, but not invested. You had your own life, your own pace, and your own mission. But the moment you felt something for her, you abandoned that state. Instead of letting the connection breathe, you tried to build it overnight. You started texting her every morning. You rushed to reply. You made time you didn't actually have. You canceled plans for her. You gave her emotional access she never earned. You offered loyalty before she even offered respect. And here's what you didn't realize. When you give too much too soon, you teach her she doesn't have to show up at all. You stop being a man with standards, and you become a man hoping to be chosen. You stop being the man she admired, and you become the man orbiting her approval. Women don't lose interest because you're kind. They lose interest because you lose yourself. The behavior that kills attraction is simple. You stop being the man she was curious about, and you become the man trying to impress her. A woman can feel when a man wants her, but she can smell when a man needs her. And nothing kills attraction faster than that shift. You don't have to beg. You don't have to cling. You don't even have to say, "Do you still like me?" Your behavior gives you away long before your words ever could. Reassurance seeking shows up in 1,000 subtle ways. You text to check the vibe instead of living your life. You get tense when she replies slower than usual. You overthink every message she sends. You ask questions you already know the answer to, just to feel secure. You start mirroring her mood instead of holding your own. You adjust your personality because you're afraid of pushing her away. And though you think you're being attentive, thoughtful, or emotionally present, she sees something entirely different. A man who doubts himself. A man who's scared she's losing interest. A man who needs constant confirmation to feel worthy. A man whose confidence collapses the moment she pulls back an inch. That energy drains her attraction. Not because she's cruel, but because a woman cannot relax into a man who depends on her reactions to feel stable. Reassurance seeking flips the polarity. Instead of being her anchor, you become another responsibility, another emotional weight, another man she has to manage. and she will never fall deeply for a man she has to emotionally babysit. Women fall in love with men who are grounded, not men who look for validation in her tone, timing, or attention. The second you need her reassurance, you stop being her desire and start being her burden. Attraction isn't just about what you say, it's about the energy you move with. In the beginning, she felt your strength because you weren't trying to win her. You were leading your life, holding your frame, and letting her come toward you. But the moment you start chasing, everything changes. Not because she hates attention, but because the type of attention you're giving tells her exactly where your value comes from. When you start over-initiating, over-explaining, over-committing, or trying to keep the momentum going, she feels that shift instantly. Your calm becomes urgency. Your presence becomes pressure. Your patience becomes pursuit. Your interest becomes dependence. Suddenly, the man who once felt like a challenge feels predictable. The man who once felt in control feels reactive. The man who once made her lean in is now leaning on her. And this is where attraction quietly dies. Not because you became a bad man, but because you stopped being a centered man. Chasing turns you into a follower. Leading comes from being rooted in your mission, not your emotions. Women don't fall for men who chase. They fall for men who move with purpose, invite connection, and stay grounded no matter how much they like someone. When you chase, you stop radiating masculine stillness and start radiating emotional hunger. And nothing repels a woman faster than feeling like a man's confidence depends on her attention. Women don't fall back because they're confused. They fall back because they feel something you're not admitting to yourself, your insecurity. You think you're hiding it, but insecurity never stays invisible. It leaks out through your tone, your timing, your reactions, and your silence. It shows up when you text her faster than you respond to your own priorities. It shows up when you get irritated because she didn't reply the way you hoped. It shows up when you ask subtle questions that are really tests in disguise. It shows up when you start walking on eggshells to avoid losing her. It shows up when your confidence collapses the moment she pulls away an inch. To you, it feels like care. To her, it feels like pressure. A pressure to validate you. A pressure to reassure you. A pressure to manage your emotional state. A pressure to keep the connection alive on her own. And that pressure kills attraction faster than anything. Because here's the truth most men never hear. A woman cannot fall in love with a man she feels responsible for. When you're grounded, she feels safe. When you're uncertain, she feels responsible. When you're confident, she relaxes. When you're insecure, she tenses up. Your insecurity turns the connection into a job she never signed up for. And it's not the insecurity itself that pushes her away. Everyone has wounds. It's the way you hand those wounds to her and expect her presence to fix them. Women don't leave because you're imperfect. They leave because you make them the solution to your anxiety. The moment she feels like your emotional oxygen tank, she stops breathing around you. If you want her love, her trust, her respect, you don't get it by trying harder. You get it by showing up like a man who doesn't need anything from her to stand strong. She doesn't fall for the guy who floods her with attention. She falls for the guy whose attention feels earned. She doesn't fall for the man who gives everything up front. She falls for the man who gives steadily, confidently, and on his terms. This isn't about being cold. It's about being composed. It's about pacing yourself instead of sprinting. It's about staying grounded instead of getting swept up in emotion. It's about letting the connection unfold instead of forcing it to happen faster. It's about keeping your mission at the center of your life, not making her the center of your world. Women fall for men who move with self-respect. A man who doesn't abandon his routine. A man who doesn't need immediate replies to feel secure. A man who can feel something for her and still remain calm, steady, and intentional. When you're relaxed, she relaxes. When you lead with purpose, she follows with trust. When you're selective, she becomes invested. When you show restraint, she becomes intrigued. And when you hold your boundaries instead of negotiating your worth, she sees the one thing she can't manufacture or manipulate: a man with a spine. The masculine alternative is simple. Stop chasing her emotions. Start mastering your own. Stop proving yourself to her. Start proving yourself to you. Stop trying to keep her. Start becoming a man she wants to stay with. Because once she realizes she can't shake your stability, that's when real attraction begins. If you felt yourself in any part of this video, good. Awareness is the first step, and most men never get that far. They repeat the same mistakes, lose the same women, and walk away thinking it was bad luck, instead of a pattern they refused to outgrow. But you're not that man. You're here because you're sharpening yourself, tightening your mindset, and refusing to move through life on autopilot. If you want to keep elevating, hit subscribe. Drop a comment on the part that hit you hardest. And like the video so more men get the message instead of being lost in the same cycle. Stay disciplined, stay grounded, and keep becoming the man she can't take for granted.